Night game.
That's a gamer right there.
Oh, man. 2 down, Nomar Garcia-Parra facing a guy who throws the ball out of the dirt, Chad Bradford.
Well, we saw Pedro Feliciano as a situational left-hander. This is a situational right-hander. Bradford, very tough on right-handed hitters. He's tough to pick up. He drops down, comes underneath. A lot of action on his pitches.
0-1 delivered to Garcia-Parra. That ball towards short. Reyes over to get it. Force at second, and they get it.
Well, he's a guy that can be used frequently. A guy in whom the A's have a great deal of confidence. And over the years, he's rewarded them for that confidence. He's done a great job for the A's in middle relief.
Mark Teixeira, the runner. Last time Teixeira was on base, Brian Jordan did this. And if we could just stop the tape right there, that would be great. But here's what happened. As the Rangers were looking to go up 6-2 at that point. Instead, now it is 5-3. The infield, a double play depth for the Oakland Athletics. Jordan starting to hit the ball pretty well, though he is twisted up right here by Bradford.
We got Jeff Nelson warming up in the bullpen. Normally, as we've said before, if everybody was active, everybody was eligible, this would be a situation where we probably would have seen Frank Francisco and Carlos Almanzar. Instead, it's been Doug Brocail, who had outstanding stuff. Sinker, a slider, a curveball, everything was working well for him. He pitched very well. And Jeff Nelson, another guy who's very accustomed to this same situation. And I'm sure Coco Cordero won't be far behind.
Now remember, coming out of spring training, Nelson was supposed to be the 8th inning guy for the Rangers. That's what he's been doing his whole career for the Seattle Mariners and for the New York Yankees. Jordan down in the count 0-2. The Rangers haven't scored since the Eric Young homer in the 4th inning. Jordan finding a way to stay with it. He had to face Bradford in a big spot in Oakland, that 5-4 game that the Rangers lost on Thursday. And he swung and missed at a sweeping off-speed pitch with the bases loaded against Bradford. Tried to get him inside, but Jordan able to hold up, and you saw the catcher Miller kind of scoot over just as Bradford went into his wind. He was asking for that pitch to be inside. Safe lead for Mark Teixeira. 1-2 pitch. Ground ball, second base. Not what you wanted. 4-6-3 DP. So the Rangers turned away here. With Ozarka website Wednesdays, you can order half-price tickets online for next Wednesday's game against the Angels. Go online, TexasRangers.com. We'll get it done for you. The Rangers, don't forget, are home tomorrow afternoon against the Oakland A's. And if all goes well over the next several minutes here tonight, the Rangers could well be playing for the chance to get to within 2 games of first place with a week and a half to go. Kevin Mensch is a one-Ranger righty who seems to have solved the drop-down right-hander Chad Bradford. Very good career numbers against him. 5 for 9. The Rangers, if you're just joining us, they took a 2-0 lead after 2. Blaylock singled in Eric Young in the first. Barajas singled in Chad Allen in the second. The A's came back to tie it with 2 in the third, and Kenny Rogers had to do some fancy stepping to get out of what could have been further damage in that 3rd inning. Mensch is able to hold up. Now, thanks to the Eric Young 3-run homer, it is 5-2. And as you check your forward leaderboard, the Rangers are very close to automatic when leading after 8. Mensch over to first base. And just to get back to the scoring in this game, Eric Young's home run made it 5-2. The A's with one in the sixth cut it to 5-3. The Ranger bullpen taking over from there. We'll get a pinch hitter now against the right-hander Chad Bradford. Adrian Gonzalez, who remember was up for a little while at the end of April, beginning of May. Then went down to AAA and had a pretty good time of it there. Now that the Rangers have announced Adrian Gonzalez into the game, Ken Maka is on his way to the mound. He wants to go get a lefty, I guess.
Chad Bradford, the submariner, on relief of Mark Mulder. Bradford had a very strong season. By the end there, he was the most reliable Oakland relief pitcher, leading into the closer, Billy Koch.
And I think you accomplished two things here if you're Art Howe. You have a 7-0 lead, so you're saving some pitches for Mulder. You're taking some of the wear and tear off of his arm, but you're also getting Bradford some postseason experience here in this year, letting him run out there and, you know, get some at-bats.
Bobby Kelty, the pinch hitter for Michael Kadire. Kelty hit .291, 12 homers, 46 batted in. And that's a called strike. 1 ball, 1 strike. Kelty, one of the young players in this club. Dustin Moore, who played a lot of outfield for the Twins. But Kadire, who played less than any of them, got the call for right field for the first 2 games of this series. And Kadire did real well yesterday in particular. A couple of hits and a walk. Drove in a big run, scored a big run. Kelty backing off on that one. That didn't miss by much, though, on the inside. 2-1 the count. Pierzynski, or rather, well, Pierzynski's out of the game now. Prince, who came in for him to catch, is on deck. There's Tom Prince in his first postseason game after a long career. Look at that one. That one spun in there real softly. Strike 2.
John, I'm a firm believer in getting the guys that you're going to count on in a series. Get them in the series as quickly as possible. I even think that you can use Billy Koch today because, you know, he hasn't pitched in the series. You may need him, you know, to close out game 3, 4, whatever. And you don't want that to be his first experience in the postseason this year.
That's a foul off to the left. Tom Prince on deck. 16 big league seasons, but never until today had he played in a postseason game. No other active player has gone that long without ever being in any kind of a postseason game.
16 years, you don't get a chance to play that long. 17
players in history who played their first postseason game after playing for 16 years without being in one. That's ball 3 to Kelty. Then there's Dave Justice, who plays in the postseason every year.
Yeah.
It's just part of the program. Let's see, spring training 6 weeks, then 6 months, and in the postseason, which I don't know, anywhere from a week to a month, that goes. Dave Justice never makes plans for, for vacations or anything like that until November. 3-2 to Kelty, and a bounding ball to Ellis. Number 1. Mark Mulder went 6 innings. And after he came off the field after the 6th inning, he had a chat with Rick Peterson and Art Howe. Let's listen in.
That's what it looks like. No, I say that's it right there. All right? I think that's the wisest thing. You're coming back on 3 days rest.
I'm just being honest because I just don't feel.
No, it's the best thing to do. It's the wisest thing to do. It's the best thing to do right now. All right? Let's go.
I mean, it almost sounded like Mulder was trying to talk him out of it.
Well, I'm not sure, John, because he kind of said, I just don't feel right. I think he was trying to say, like you're saying, to go back out there so he can find himself. You know what I mean? To find that groove that he wants to stay in. But, I mean, 6'5", 1-1 is not too bad, But I think that's what he was saying. That, he just doesn't feel like he is as sharp as he'd like to be. And therefore, he might want to go out there for one more inning. But Rick Peterson said, I think that's enough.
Tom Prince, 60. I mean, he's basically been a backup catcher.
Yeah.
And a very fine receiver. And he's been able to parlay that into a very long big league career in his first postseason game. So this is a special trip to the plate for Tom Prince.
Well, you know what, John? It's special just to win the division first. When you win, you know, he hadn't been in the postseason because they hadn't won. You know, so to be on a winning team, now you're on a winning team, and now you get your first at bat. I mean, I think he's been excited since they, you know, captured the championship, because that's your first goal. And your second goal is to get a base hit in postseason.
1 ball and 2 strikes to count. And 2-2. But Mulder, if he wasn't feeling quite right, like everything wasn't just quite right, then you can imagine how tough he is when everything is right.
Well, you know, he's just he has such command out there of all his pitches, and he doesn't ever seem to lose his composure out there. I don't care what they get men on base or whatever. He always seems to be in control, and he has great control. That's the other thing.
Now Barry Zito goes in game 3 for the Athletics against Rick Reed. Reed had a great second half of the year for the Twins, but the last time Zito pitched at the Metrodome was on Sunday Night Baseball on ESPN, September the 8th. 7 shutout innings with 7 strikeouts, only 3 hits allowed. Not easy to do against the Twins in their home ballpark. So they'll be counting on Zito to put him ahead of that series, even at the Metrodome on Friday, as Prince is called out on strikes. 2 down.
Well, I've heard you describe this. Well, that's not quite a frisbee slider, but it is a little slide piece. He drops down under, and that's what makes it tough, just to find the location. Then he whips it across, and it cuts across the strike zone, and you can see it was clearly in the strike zone.
That was an interesting replay. I mean, how far forward of the pitching slab his body was, and his right foot. I mean, nothing was even anywhere near the slab by the time he actually released that ball. I mean, it looks like he almost scrapes his knuckles on the ground when he throws the pitch. That's in there just a little bit below the knees, apparently, to Rivas. 2-0.
John, I'm sure that in some, you know, mounds that aren't exactly perfect, you might hit your knuckle.
I mean, this is really a different look for a hitter.
Yeah, well, hitters are used to looking off of the guy's right shoulder to pick up the ball. Now you have to look off of his right knee.
I mean, it looks to me like you have to look onto a little spot near the front of the mound. I mean, that ball's kind of coming out of the front of the mound.
Definitely a different look.
Watch his right foot by the time he releases the ball. Look at that.
Good follow through.
We didn't see his right foot in that.
But a good follow through anyway.
So he's prepared to field his position. 2-2 now. Remember when you started your career, the Reds had a pretty good submariner named Ted Abernathy.
Right.
Dan Quisenberry was a good one for a long time.
Kent Tekulve.
Off the glove. Ellis, and Rivas is retired. Bradford retires the Twins in order. They're stretching at the Coliseum. Durham, Hatterberg, Tejada coming up. Definitely for the Athletics today. Now is the day. Today is the day where they had to win to have their hopes continue of advancing beyond this first round of the postseason as Dustin Moore comes up against Chad Bradford. John Mabry stays in to play first base for the Athletics, who lead 9-1. And that slider is a little bloop into shallow right center field. Long got a late break on it, battling the sun. And now Moore heading into second, and he'll make it there. A double. Dustin Moore in his first at bat of this postseason. Moore at .269 with 12 home runs.
Well, because of the brightness of the sun, sometimes it's just very difficult to pick the ball up right away. Plus, they're playing pretty deep, and this ball is just a little flare in the right center. And Terrence Long cannot get there.
So a double for Moore, and now Christian Guzman will come up. Guzman has had a sacrifice. He's grounded out. And then in the 6th, he hit a home run for the only run allowed by Mark Mulder. Guzman, a switch hitter, batting left-handed down. That's a called strike. But, you know, Oakland back in '71, a young ball club. Got to the postseason for the first time and got swept by Baltimore, veteran Baltimore club under Earl Weaver. That was the year that Baltimore had 4 20-game winners. But Oakland won again the next year, and this time they beat Detroit in the playoffs, and they moved on to the World Series, and then they beat a Cincinnati club that was pretty heavily favored. And Guzman is thrown out by Ellis, with Moore moving over to third. 1 down.
Well, Gene Tennis and the pitching staff did, yeah.
And young Gene Tennis.
Yeah, Gene Tennis hit
4 home runs.
Yeah. And he'd only hit like 10 the whole season or something.
I don't even know if he'd hit that many.
Yeah, and all of a sudden he just got hot in the World Series, which is what the World Series is all about.
Oakland's regular catcher most of the year had been Dave Duncan.
Right.
And Gene Tennis had such a great World Series, they ended up trading Dave Duncan after that season. Here's Corey Koski, who's 0 for 3. And they strike from Bradford. It is 0-1. 9-1 Oakland ahead. But that, of course, began this stretch of dominance. That Oakland ball club became one of the great clubs of all time. They won 3 straight World Series. Not many have done that. The A's have, with the rotation featuring Catfish Hunter, Vida Blue, Ken Holtzman, Raleigh Fingers anchoring that bullpen, Reggie Jackson, Sal Bando, Joe Rudy, Gene Tennis, Ray Fosse, now a broadcaster for the A's, was a catcher on those ball clubs as well. They acquired him from Cleveland.
Of course, the thing that everybody remembers about that team is Dick Green was a very good defensive second baseman.
And it was a very good defensive team.
Right.
Dick Green, as Ricardo Rincon is up in the Oakland bullpen, a left-hander. In 1974, they beat the Dodgers. And all 3 of those World Series, well, let's say 2 of the 3, they were favored to lose. They were the underdogs to the Reds in 72 and again to the Dodgers in 74. They beat the Mets in 73. And that's inside for a ball. 2-2 the count. Anyway, in 74, Dick Green had such a great World Series defensively, as LaTroy Hawkins is up in the Minnesota bullpen, that most of the writers who were voting for the most valuable player of that series said if Dick Green would even get 1 hit, we'd vote for him as the MVP of the series. But he never did. But that's how strong he was defensively in that series. That one, did it hit him or hit the bat? Apparently it hit the bat. 2-2 to Corey Koski, looking for his first hit of the day. Matthew LeCroy is on deck.
I think he's acting like the ball hit him on the hand.
Well, Ron Gardner came out of the dugout and asked the plate umpire Merriweather about it.
It looks like it may have hit the knob. It may have been just a vibration, because he didn't act like he got hit on the hand. I think it hit the knob.
Runner at third, 1 out. 2-2 the count. And a foul out of play into the second deck. But that Oakland ball club, that was right near the beginning of the free agent era. Oakland ended up trading Reggie Jackson after that 74 season for Don Baylor. Was it the 7? No, they lost Catfish Hunter.
Yes, Catfish.
After 74 on a contract technicality. Charlie Finley had violated his contract. And Catfish ended up signing for big money with the New York Yankees, the late Catfish Hunter. He was 25-12 for that Oakland club in 1974.
You know what I find interesting, you're looking at the numbers out there. There's Raleigh Fingers is on the wall, but I don't see Reggie Jackson's number on the wall.
And that hits Corey Koski. Well, Koski got beat up there by Bradford. Almost got hit one time. Ball hitting the knob of the bat. This time he clearly did get hit. This copyrighted telecast is presented by authority of the Commissioner of Baseball and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form. And the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without express written consent. Right now, the end is drawing near. The quest to win the World Series ring has begun. And the time to watch Major League Baseball is right now. Don't miss the postseason action on ABC Family. Matthew LeCroy, 2 for 3 in the game, takes a called strike. But, you know, so I think that Oakland ball club in the early 70s, when you consider they won 3 straight playoff series and they won 6 straight postseason series in 3 years. They were the first team ever to do that. And I don't think they get enough credit for being as strong a club as they were.
Yeah, they were a very good ball club. But I still think, you know, when you think of that team, you think about Reggie Jackson. He was kind of the guy. He was the man on that ball club. And
although the first one of those World Series, the one against the Reds, he broke his leg in the playoff against Detroit and couldn't play in that World Series.
He was scoring either the winning run or the go-ahead run or the winning run in that game. He scored from third base on a sacrifice fly, and there's Dick Williams.
Dick Williams came in as the manager in '71, and a lot of those A's players said that it was Williams who sort of showed them how to win. That is a double play turned by Ellis, hitting the bag, and then an off-balance throw in the dirt, scooped up by Mabry at first. And the Twins do not score. Oakland in a must-win situation, and it's been all A's today. Chavez coming up. Oakland 9-1. Not Chad Bradford, the right-hander, is on in relief. Bradford, who came on during the 8th inning last night, got the final 2 outs of the 8th. And he's become a key man in that Oakland bullpen, which has been a very real source of strength to this ball club. They don't often lose leads late in games. And Bradford almost looks like he scrapes his fingers on the front slope of the mound when he throws those pitches. 1 ball, no strikes to Nomar Garcia-Parra. Bradford threw 12 pitches in last night's game. And one right to the shortstop. Tejada sets himself, and Garcia-Parra is out. Nomar, who had been aboard twice earlier with a walk and a single.
Well, normally you look upstairs to find the release point of the pitcher, but with Bradford you have to look down at the ground, and you get the view here. He misses the ground about 6 to 8 inches, and that's where you have to find the release point.
Chad Bradford, whom the A's acquired. He had been with the White Sox, and it was obviously a great pickup for the Athletics. They didn't have to give up much to get him. Although the young catcher, a catching prospect, didn't play a lot for the White Sox this past year. They think he's going to be a good one, Miguel Olivo. So maybe time will show that the White Sox made a good trade too. But Bradford's been a very effective setup man for Oakland. This is the 3rd year that he's done a very strong job. Last night the bullpen went 4 2/3 innings, with the lone exception of Ricardo Rincon, who gave up the 2-run homer to Todd Walker. The Athletics bullpen did the job. Of course, Keith Foulke, the closer, went 3 of those innings and threw 52 pitches, and that's too high. 1 ball, 2 strikes to Walker. Walker, by the way, after a 4-hit game last night, 0 for 3 in this game. He did not get the ball out of the infield against Zito. 3 groundouts. Sun breaking through the overcast once again here in Oakland. 1-2 the count. And down the left field line, twisting foul back into the crowd. 1 ball, 2 strikes. 36,305 here today after better than 50,000 last night. Yesterday here in the Bay Area, for the Giants and Oakland games on a weekday, they sold more than 94,000 tickets for playoff baseball. Giants in the afternoon, 43,700 something, more than 50,000 here, 50,600 plus. That's out of play. Still 1-2 to Walker.
When we talked to Grady a little, before the ball game, just so it won't seem like tomorrow, Saturday, when he takes Walker out of the lineup, it was because of today. He said Damian Jackson was going to play on Saturday, and that, it wouldn't have mattered how well Walker played today. Jackson was going to get a start on Saturday
against the left-hander Ted Lilly, who will go in game 3 for Oakland against the right-hander Derek Lowe. Fastball just missing inside. 2-2 the count. As Dave Ryan pointed out earlier, despite throwing 42 pitches in last night's ball game, Derek Lowe, who actually got the loss last night, will be all set to start the ball game Saturday at Fenway, where he has been great this year. Lowe seems to have a high comfort level pitching at Fenway Park. And that will be an out. Hatterberg takes care of it. 2 men gone. Walker 0 for 4. In game 3 at Fenway. It looks like Saturday night, that ball game. Ted Lilly for the Athletics, and his 12-10 record's a little bit deceiving because he was so hot down the stretch. And Derek Lowe 17-7 for the Red Sox, and he was outstanding at Fenway all year. The question is, will the Red Sox be playing to stay alive in that ball game, or will they be playing to go ahead? 1 strike the count to Manny Ramirez. Manny has walked, flied out deep to left center, and singled. Red Sox have not had a base runner since Ramirez led off the 6th inning with a single. 8 in a row have gone down. 1 ball, 1 strike. Yankees and Minnesota. The Yankees in a similar spot to the Boston tonight. I mean, in the East, a lot of thought about how exciting it would be to see the Red Sox up against the Yankees next week in the League Championship Series.
Well, I'm sure the Oakland A's and the Minnesota Twins fans aren't pulling for that.
A's fans think it would be real exciting to see the A's play the Yankees or
anybody,
whoever.
Yeah.
1-2 now to Ramirez. And this mighty Red Sox batting order just being shut down. Ramirez with a check swing, and he just had that ball skim off his bat foul. 1 and 2.
Although if you're an A's fan, you're probably pulling for Minnesota because the Yankees have beaten you twice, you know, in the first round. Minnesota's only beaten you once.
Well, they kept saying last year that A's were better off playing Minnesota the first round, and then they lost to the Twins. Twins don't get any respect.
No, you're right.
I saw where Jock Jones was pointing out, he was reading the papers in New York yesterday at their hotel there, and he says, you know, everything was about how the Yankees lost. It's almost like we weren't even involved in the game. He says it had been just the opposite. If we'd been the team that made some mistakes and whatnot, he says he was sure that they'd write about how the Yankees won.
Well, there's no doubt Minnesota played well. They were aggressive from the first inning on, and they were able to come out on top. Tonight's game is obviously the big game for the Yankees.
Down and in a check swing by Ramirez. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Andy Pettitte tonight for the Yankees, and Brad Radke. And Radke was just sensational in the stretch. A big reason as to how the Twins were able to overcome the White Sox and win the Central Division. And Radke won the clinching game 5 against Oakland right here in this ballpark last year. 2-2 the count to Ramirez. 2 down, nobody on. Strike 3 call. And so it goes for Ramirez and the Red Sox here in Oakland. 7 innings and pitched extremely well. Radke is finished. He went 6 2/3, very strong innings. So it has been handed over to the respective bullpens now. Romero came on for the Twins to get out of the 7th. And now Chad Bradford, 28-year-old right-hander, acquired for the White Sox year before the last. He's on in relief of Mulder, and he gives a hitter quite a different look from the left-hander Mulder.
Well, definitely different from Mulder, because Mulder was straight over the top, and he's almost right underneath.
And Bradford's specialty is getting right-handed hitters out. David Ortiz, by the way, is the pinch hitter for LeCroy, and he is thrown out by Ellis. LeCroy was 2 for 3 in this game. He had a hand in both of the Minnesota runs. The young designated hitter And his manager, Gardner, showed faith in him in this series against these lefties, and he delivered. So Ortiz is gone. 1 down. And now Torrey Hunter will come up. 2-1 the score. The Minnesota Twins out in front. Against Mark Mulder, a left-handed hitter never did get a hit today. I don't know, a left-handed hitter never even reached base against him today. 0 for 14 against him. There is Ricardo Rincon, a left-hander, warming up in the Athletics bullpen. Minkevich, a left-handed hitter, on deck. Bradford has pitched one other time in this series. That was in relief of Mulder. He worked the 7th and 8th innings on Wednesday in Game 2. Gave up no runs and 1 hit in that one. From down under, and the count 0-2 to Hunter, who has doubled, hit into a force play, and struck out. There's Minkevich on deck. Oakland will have its 9th place hitter scheduled to lead off in the last of the 8th and then to the top of the order. Twins got 1 in the 2nd, 1 in the 3rd, and had a great threat going with 1 out in the 4th. Runners at 2nd and 3rd as Hernandez goes out to talk to Bradford for some reason. Count 0-2, but the Twins have only had 1 hit and 1 base runner since Denny Hocking hit that double to set up a great threat in the 4th.
Well, Mulder, he seemed to pitch better the more pitches he threw, and he finally found his groove and he pitched well. But I mean, I think the A's have put a lot of pressure on the pitchers in this series. I mean, I know they scored a lot of runs at different times, but Mulder had to come out and pitch great for 4 or 5 innings in Game 2 to win that ball game, and he did. And they've asked a lot of him again today because they only scored the 1 run.
Hunter fouls 1 away. 0-2 the count.
The one thing about great pitching in postseason, you're going to be matched up against some good pitching as well. And I think that's one of the things that has happened to the Atlanta Braves over the years. They had great pitching. Those guys are matched up against some good pitchers as well. And you're matched up against good teams. So you're not going to just throw your glove out there and beat anyone on any given day. You can do that during the regular season, but you face a lot of mediocre teams and mediocre pitching on the other side.
That one very high. 1 ball, 2 strikes to Torrey Hunter. Well, look what happened to Randy Johnson and Curt Schilling.
Exactly.
Matched up against some pretty good Cardinal pitchers.
Schilling only gave up the 1 run, and he left trailing the ball game.
Mulder of those 3 has been the guy who's really had the best record of success in the postseason for Oakland. The last 2 years against the Yankees, this year against these Minnesota Twins. But Mulder's the one guy who elevated his performance. Although the numbers we just looked at were just in this year's series against the Twins. Off the fist again. Tejada throws out Hunter. Hunter now 1 for 4. Doug Minkevich.
Well, they've got Rincon warmed up in the bullpen because I think at this stage of the game, you cannot give up another run if you're the A's.
Already down by 1. I was about to say, when you're down by 1, you can bunt, you can hit and run. You have
right, exactly.
Except they don't bunt.
Well, but they can. And I think, you know what? I bet you we may see a bunt because they're down to their last 6 outs. And this is kind of interesting. Peterson's going to go out and talk to him, and it's that pitch around him, don't give him anything good to hit kind of thing.
You got the right-handed hitter Kadire on deck, and the plate umpire Joe West is going to go out and hurry this along now. Long discussion here with Peterson and Bradford.
Well, a lot of times you go over the scouting report, but I don't think they have a scouting report for Bradford against Minkevich. Bradford doesn't have the normal stuff that you can use against certain hitters. Pitch him in and fastball in, fastball away, that kind of stuff. His repertoire doesn't include that. I mean, he has to have a completely different scouting report against every hitter than the other pitchers on the A's staff. But I must admit, I'm a little surprised. And I'm sure Art thinks about it, but you got Rincon out there.
and you just can't give up another run.
Cavich is 2 for 2 against Bradford, although both of the hits have been singles. And he takes ball 1.
But it's that old pitch around him theory. If you go and if you pitch around him, go ahead and walk him to get to the right-handed hitter Kadire. I mean, you're also putting a runner on base.
Well, there was the old pitch around Jack Clark.
Yeah.
Tom Niedenfuhr on the mound. 1985 National League Championship Series. Sort of went out, gave him orders. You pitch around this guy. And then about the time he got back to the dugout, Clark hit a home run.
Well, he's definitely going to try to, when he throws the fastball, stay right out there on the edge or even off the edge.
That is just off the edge. 2-1. Minkevich against the left-hander Mulder today. Lined out to short, grounded out to first, and grounded out to short. Mark Mulder, 7 innings, 2 runs, although 9 hits allowed. He had 8 strikeouts, 1 walk that was an intentional walk. And Ellis handles this one.
Good job.
Bradford retires the side in order. Hernandez due up. Then offensive juggernaut. And that's what they were in this ballpark. They averaged 6.6 runs a game at Fenway this year. So here is Bradford, who had an excellent year. Bradford, the Submariner, to face Nomar Garcia-Parra.
And he smart play. I looked up. I saw Chavez was very deep at third base. And you're at the point now we have to try to score a run. The longer this goes, the more pressure builds on Boston because they can be eliminated with one mistake or one swing in the bat. So you have to try to get ahead. Chavez was back here to start with.
Chavez gets to it. Now the throw, and Nomar is saying that the ball hit him first. But now the plate umpire, Nomar did not run immediately.
Well, you know what? Let's see if they're calling no pitch here. Let's see if that's a no pitch. I mean, I didn't see a signal. All right, yeah. I mean, he didn't. All right, what happens is sometimes Bradford, he starts in a stretch position and he doesn't go to a stretch. He just throws the ball to the plate.
Oh.
And so that might have been called no pitch. I don't know. I mean, I'm trying to figure out what happened here.
Well, we saw this when we did that game with Seattle.
Well, let's see here.
2 weeks ago.
Well, did it hit him? I mean,
it did not hit him.
Well, he said, well, he called 1 strike. He called 1, and that's the only thing I can think of is that they call no pitch because Bradford sometimes he stands in a stretch position, but he doesn't go to a stretch. He just throws the ball. See, like right there, he just comes up and throws it without. Now he goes to a stretch position right there, and that's what you're supposed to do.
So the count now is officially 1 ball, 1 strike. This is the previous pitch, Joe.
See, he did not come to a stretch position. You're in a stretch position and you do not stop, and they called no pitch.
And we saw the same thing happen.
And that's what he's doing now. That's why he's stopping now.
Hit very slowly. Chavez barehanded, and he juggles it. So Nomar got a second life after apparently grounding out to Chavez. He went back to the plate, and this time he beats it out. It will be scored as a hit.
And it's interesting because, when you sit in a stretch position, you do not come to a set position and throw it. That's like a quick pitch, and that's what they called the pitch before. That's a tough play.
I mean, Nomar runs well.
Yeah. But it's still such a tough play to barehand that ball. I mean, I just think maybe catch it and try to get rid of it like a second baseman again.
Now Bill Miller, nobody out, runner at first. Nomar stole 19 bases this year, caught 5 times.
And it's obvious that you have a chance to steal a run with Bradford
because he comes from a set position, then he has to drop down before he releases the ball. Bill Miller's a good hit-and-run guy. So, I mean, you have a lot of options here if you're Grady.
And Miller's batting left-handed now, and he hit .369 batting left-handed in this ballpark. Chavez pulled in at third, and a strike on the outside. Ricardo Rincon, the left-hander, is now up in the Oakland bullpen. You get Miller, the switch hitter, at the plate, then the right-handed batting Manny Ramirez on deck, and after Ramirez, the left-handed slugger David Ortiz. There's Ramirez. Will be next. Big hole on the right side of the Oakland infield with Hatterberg on the bag holding against Garciaparra. There he goes. Miller rolls it to the right side. That moves Nomar along.
Well, they got the job done. They moved him over into scoring position.
And now Ramirez, who's been shut down for most of this series, and especially in spots like this, where he's got a chance to drive in a run.
And they're standing. This is the Boston crowd is doing all they can to help these Red Sox win this ball game. They're standing for Manny. A lot of places they would be booing because he hasn't driven any runs, but they're standing.
He's had 1 hit and 11 at-bats in this series. They're chanting his name. Garciaparra, who runs well, the possible go-ahead run at second base. Pedro Martinez is warming up in the Boston bullpen. Will they have a lead for Pedro to try and protect in the 9th? That's the question. 1-1.
And you would probably think about walking Manny if it wasn't for the unorthodox pitching motion of Bradford and the fact that Manny has struggled a little bit in this series. Well, not a little bit. He's been struggling.
Well, and he's had only 1 hit in 11 lifetime at-bats against Bradford. And Bradford's handled it.
Yeah, and you have a left-handed hitter on deck, but they also have Rincon loose in mid-10, so they could bring him for him. But this is the matchup that Ken Maka wants right now.
Laid off that one as it ran in toward the belt buckle. 1 ball, 1 strike. Derek Lowe with his sweatshirt on in the dugout. Now out of the game. Red Sox, no hits and 7 at-bats with runners in scoring position tonight, because they only have 2 hits at all. Or now 3 on the infield hit by Garciaparra. 2 of those 3 hits have been infield hits. A ball and a strike. 2-1.
And if you're Bradford, you have to think, I'm going to make my pitch and continue to make it. If I miss, I miss. But I'm not going to give in and throw a strike just to keep from walking him.
The Athletics with a huge advantage in this series now, needing only 1 win more. Boston trying to stay alive. We're in the 8th.
Another good pitch. See that? He's not going to give in. He's not going to get anything out over the plate. That ball's tailing back into Manny. And it's hard to lay off when a guy drops down a little bit or throws underneath. When the ball starts inside, you want to hit it. And that ball just keeps chasing Manny. And it's pretty much 2 perfect pitches he's thrown him on these 2 strikes.
He's gone inside with everything. Does he set him up for a slider away here?
Well, he set him up for a lot of things, but you have to make the pitch.
2-2 to Manny Ramirez, one of the great RBI men in the game for many years.
And you see the catcher Hernandez looking up to see if Manny's peeking back there. And peeking by that, I mean to see if he's leaning inside, because if it's inside, he knows it has to be a fastball. And if he's away, he can throw a breaking ball. If he sits inside, he's got to throw a fastball. He's not going to throw a breaking ball inside.
2-2 to Manny Ramirez. Garciaparra got that infield hit, is at second. There he is, number 5. And he struck him out.
Same pitch. 3 pitches running back in, tailing back in on Manny.
Wow. He is now 1 for 12 in this series.
He threw 3 pitches, very similar spot, and that's perfect pitching to Manny.
Well, that enables them to walk Ortiz intentionally. And you've got the right-handed batting Kevin Millar up next. I mean, that just worked out beautifully for Ken Maka, because they can just put Ortiz on. And even if Grady Little pinch hit with a left-handed hitter from Millar, he's got the lefty Rincon ready in the bullpen to counter that move. Millar, who's never had a hit against Chad Bradford.
And really, it's not unusual, for a guy not to have a hit against Bradford, because they do not face him that much. You face him maybe once or twice the entire year.
Cowboy up, they're chanting at Fenway Park. Ballpark in which baseball is being played for the 92nd year, and I believe that might be one of the first times we've ever heard Cowboy up chanted at Fenway Park. Between innings, they had the rally karaoke guy video up on the Jumbotron, and that's Kevin Millar back when he was in college. A video was made one night of Millar at a party. Some old friend of his sent it to the Red Sox back in August, and they played it late in one ball game, and the Red Sox rallied and came back for a win that night.
Well, they've got a lot going on here tonight in Boston.
So that was their answer to the Anaheim Rally Monkey. They had the Rally Karaoke guy here at Fenway. And here is the later, more mature version of the Rally Karaoke guy, Kevin Millar. 2 men on, 2 men out. Foul. Millar 0 for 4 lifetime against Bradford. In this game, he's had an infield hit. Been safe on the dropped pop-up by Ramon Hernandez, the catcher, and he has walked. So he's been on base 3 times. The 4-5-6 hit is the heart of the order in this series, with 3 hits in 27 at-bats. Millar's been the hot hitter of that trio. On the outside for a strike. And it is 0-2 now to Kevin Millar.
And that was a good pitch, because Millar was watching the way he pitched Manny. In. First pitch he threw, Millar was in, and he pulled it foul. He was ready for it. So what does Bradford do? He goes outside corner. Pedro's still throwing. I don't know if they're going to use him if he goes ahead, or if they're going to use him whether they go ahead or not. I'm not sure. If you're not going to use him at all, you may be wasting him. So I'm not sure what they're going to do. Grady will make that decision.
Both runners ready to go in anything, and that's the pitch that Manny just had a hard time laying off right there. Millar took it.
And again, it's tough to lay off because it's coming towards you, and you say, well, I can get to it. But it just continues to tail in on you.
35,406 at Fenway. The largest crowd in the last 13 years. The largest official paid attendance at Fenway in the last 13 years. 2 on, 2 out. 1-1 the score. Millar trying to cowboy up. But it is Bradford who gets him. Check it out. Boston 1, Oakland 1. It's the Boston half of the 9th inning. The powerful Jason Varitek will lead off against Chad Bradford. Varitek safe on a booted double play ball by Tejada back in the 2nd inning. Eventually scored Boston's run. Since then, he's flied to shallow right and grounded out to short.
And Varitek is 4 for 8 against Bradford.
And that's a blooper, and that makes it 5 for 9. Boston with its second hit since the 2nd inning. Only the 2nd hit it's had to the outfield in the game. Adrian Brown goes over to first base. And he'll be the pinch runner for Varitek.
Well, a left-handed hitter sees this ball much better than a right-hander does because he has a little more time to wait. And he got a good pitch and he got a base hit.
So there's Brown. Brown, who only got into 9 games with the Red Sox this year, had 2 steals. Former Pittsburgh Pirate.
Well, the question is, what do you do here? Do you bunt him over, or do you try to steal the base and then bunt him to third base? Everybody's having a tough time scoring runs today.
I mean, this is a guy that you think you can get a jump against, right?
Yes, you should be able to, yes.
And Brown is back to the bag as Kapler has already squared around the bunt.
Well, that's why they do it. They want to see if he did, as I just said before. Now Kapler basically gave it away. But if you're Grady Little, do you change it?
Kapler has not had a sacrifice bunt in the last 3 years. Over third base, Chavez in on the grass, expecting the bunt. And again, Kapler squares, and Brown is back to the bag at first.
Well, I mean, it depends on your philosophy. I mean, you know, you can be eliminated if you lose this ball game. So maybe you play it the percentages and just go ahead and bunt him to second base instead of trying to let him steal the bag.
The Oakland bullpen is busy. Kapler bunts it foul. I mean, Boston's trying to do things here that
they're not used to doing.
They don't do.
Right. But that's what the playoffs force you to do sometimes. Force you to play a little differently than you would, you know, in a regular season game.
They had 24 sacrifice bunts this year. 6 of them by Johnny Damon, 5 by Jason Varitek, 4 by Bill Miller, and nobody else had more than 2. Damian Jackson had 2. He's on deck. Ricardo Rincon, the lefty, is in the bullpen. You saw Todd Walker has a bat, and he's ready in the Boston dugout. But Rincon is also ready as a counter to that possible move. And the Fenway fans offering a chant, "Let's go, Red Sox." Well, Kapler obviously not very good at this. 0-2. Now, I mean, maybe you've got somebody in the dugout, Joe, who might be a good bunter.
Well, the key is you have to keep the barrel of the bat above the ball and just play catch with it and not punch at it. But again, I mean, Kapler hasn't been asked to bunt in 3 years. Kind of difficult to do it right now under these circumstances.
Or if he has been asked to, he never did it.
Well, either way.
Adrian Brown, the runner at first. And he's back to the bag again.
There's another way to look at this. If you're going to try to steal the base, you have to try to do it now. Because if he retires Kapler and they pinch hit Walker, they're going to bring the left-hander in, which will make it more difficult to steal second. So if you're going to do it, you got to do it in this at-bat.
That's the third, should be 2. Chavez double clutch down the relay, still in time. Well, that's not the Red Sox style of play. And instead of getting the runner over, a double play, the worst possible result. Now Todd Walker is going to come up with 2 down and nobody on.
Well, Chavez has showed you that why he wins the Gold Glove. Look at this throw, perfect throw at second base. I mean, if he throws the ball inside a little bit or outside a little bit, they're not going to make that double play. I mean, we've seen him be very accurate on starting the double plays, and that's how you win Gold Gloves. I mean, that's what a Gold Glover does. He makes the plays.
Walker has